Hi folks, this is Dr. Rob Cywes. I am the Carb Addiction Doc. This is the third of 4 videos that we're shooting in a mini-series of updating our carb addiction starter kit. So to help you understand the aspects of carb addiction, and really the first 2, I try to define addiction, then I try to give you the spectrum of what encompasses carbohydrate addiction. These are things that are not, in my opinion, well understood in the world out there, as we slowly evolve to understand that obesity is more an addiction problem than a nutrition or a calorie problem. And I think more and more people are starting to get that, but because they're still at the infancy of their understanding, they don't understand it as robustly. And yes, I am being arrogant about this, and I don't care if I'm being arrogant because we've been doing this for 22 years. I've tripped over many misinformed stones in my own path. But we've come to this consensus. And when you're looking at yourself through the lens of addiction, you're an expert at failing weight loss programs. You've tried them all, lost some weight, but they failed because your objective was to lose weight, not to transform behaviors and habits, because that's addiction management. Addiction management is about the empowerment, not the deprivation of change. It's about the empowerment of building and developing new habits and new relationships and breaking old habits. And you cannot break an old habit if you're still doing it. And we discussed the 3 components of carbohydrate addiction: the substance itself, sugar and starch, the process of snacking, and the process of the Rottweiler syndrome. Go back and look at the other videos if you haven't seen them. So, and that was the last couple of videos. So today, when you recognize, man, I got a problem here, I'm obese, and I'm talking about 50 plus pounds of excess weight, or I've now got type 2 diabetes, or I'm pre-diabetic, or I've got cardiovascular disease, or I've got gout, I've got PCOS. If you've got one of the metabolic syndromes that defines this as an addiction, in order to begin this pathway, addiction management, and a group called Prochaska, who wrote a book called Changing for Good, understood this really well in the 80s and 90s about addiction management, is that there is a process of change. And the first step in that process of change is going from a state of pre-contemplation, where you're oblivious to the fact that you even have a problem, to being able to contemplate and develop ownership of the fact that you have that problem, and then to contemplate the magnitude of the problem. And today's video is going to help you to understand the magnitude of the problem and develop some ownership so that you can begin to commit to change. And then the next video, the final one on this, is to say, okay, I'm ready to change. How should that look? And then beyond that, by the way, if you want help into actually making those changes, understanding what's required, that's where you set up a visit with us, because it's unique to each individual and it's not something I'm going to put in a video. But here we go. There are 3 questions I'm looking for you to ask. The first one, once you recognize that you have an obesity, a diabetes, a metabolic, a carbohydrate toxicity issue, the first thing I want you to look at in order to understand the magnitude of the problem, don't eat or drink anything unless you absolutely know the total carbohydrate content of what's in front of you, what's in your house. Go through your cupboards, go through your fridge, look at the total carbohydrate content, not the net carbs, not the sugars, not the calories, the total carbohydrate content of what you're about to eat and drink. And if it's not on the label, in the nutritional box on the back, ignore the lies on the front. If it's not in the nutrition box on the back, Google it. Total carbohydrate content of. And Google will tell you. Because I want you to empower yourself with knowledge. Well, of course, a bag of M&Ms, you kind of know, look, I don't know what the number is, but it's pretty ugly. But know what the number is. We never, in addiction management, manage by the numbers. So I'm never going to ever tell you to count carbohydrates, or just like an alcoholic never has to know how much alcohol there is in a drink to be able to say in a binary way, yes, no. The smoker doesn't have to know the nicotine content of a cigarette to say yes or no. In addiction management, it's binary. It's yes, no. But in order to understand and contemplate the magnitude of the problem, understand where the carbohydrates are. And the obvious ones are obvious, but get to know the number. A can of Coke is 39 to 40 grams of carbohydrates. The average Tropicana glass of orange juice is 48 to 52 grams. Yep, that healthy orange juice that you drink every morning for its vitamin C has a lot more sugar in it than a can of Coke. So come to terms with that. Know where the sugar is and understand that even if they say orange juice is healthy because of the vitamin C, well, guess what? A glass of red wine, particularly South African red wine, is very healthy because of all the antioxidants. But if you're an alcoholic, I don't care how healthy that glass of red wine is. The wine, the alcohol content is the problem. And if you're a carbohydrate addict, that's what we have to come to terms with. So get to know the sugar content. And then you're going to bump into all the bullshit from the manufacturers and from the common sentiment on the internet. So the first thing you say, oh, berries are so healthy because they've got all these antioxidants in them. Eric Westman loves this phrase, and I've stolen it from him. Berries are baby fruits. The equivalent is if you're an alcoholic and you drink a bottle of Tito's every day, and you go on an airplane, they got those little baby bottles of Tito's. That's a berry to fruit. And of course, the alcoholic doesn't care if they come in little bottles or big bottles. Alcohol's on the no. Get rid of those little baby fruits. They're a problem. But understand the carbohydrate content. Oh, it's so low. Well, it should be 0. The second thing is distinguish between natural carbohydrates and unnatural carbohydrates. Ask yourself this question: what's healthier for you, a donut or an apple? And most of you will knee-jerk and say the apple, because you didn't go and find out the total carbohydrate content of the average apple or the average donut. Oh, but the apple's got natural sugar in it. Google glucose. Glucose is a 6-sided carbon molecule. Google fructose. Fructose is a very similar 6-sided carbon molecule. And it's exactly the same glucose and fructose in the apple as there is in the donut. There is no difference. There is no difference. Come to terms with that. Because in addiction, it isn't about the substance. Carbohydrates are not the problem. The dog's outside of the problem, but carbohydrates are not the problem. The problem is our relationship with it. And that is the most distinguishing factor between a diet and an addiction program. Diets demonize the substance. Addiction demonizes the relationship. And it's your relationship with the apple and the donuts that's the problem. A skinny, normal, healthy person can eat the apple. So the first question you ask yourself, in terms of understanding how big the elephant is, don't eat or drink anything unless you absolutely know the total carbohydrate content and get to know it in what's in your environment. The second and the third questions are paired. And go back to the first video in this 4-part series to understand this. Look at how often you put anything to eat or drink in your mouth. Look at how often you put anything to eat or drink in your mouth. Whether it's a bridge like coffee, whether it's a snack, whether it's peanuts or M&Ms, pretzels or a piece of cheese, whether it's a steak, a salad, mashed potatoes or ice cream, look at how often you put crap in your mouth. And I bet you're eating in response to a feeling called hunger, which is like a smoker smoking in response to cigarettes. So the first question is, look at how often. And you heard our dogs barking outside. Our dogs get fed twice a day, 5:30 in the morning and sometime in the evening when I get home. Twice a day, and they are not dying of anorexia. They don't get snacks. So if I feed them at noon, they're not going to eat because noon is not normal feeding time. That's called timed eating. And nutritionally, they're getting everything they need. Human beings are no different. We should be eating once, maybe twice a day. And in 1 or 2 meals a day, we get a full component of food. So look at how often, because most people, I only eat 3 or 4 days. I don't snack. Yeah. Don't say that until you've proven that to yourself. Because we're oblivious to it. We're so conditioned to doing it opportunistically. We don't intend to do it. We don't say, I'm going to snack at 3 o'clock. But you're walking past a colleague's desk and there's some M&Ms on their desk. You're grabbing one and eating it. You have no idea. I have no idea how much coffee I drink in a day. I have no idea how often I do it. I can count it, but I know it's somewhere between 16 and 20 times a day. Because this is my cigarette. It's my mind-cleansing moment. And I've legitimized this coffee because it doesn't cause caloric harm. And it's not perfect, but it's perfect for me. However, look at how often you put calories in your mouth. And the second question that parallels that one is ask yourself why. Why are you doing this right now? I know that coffee there, it's not for thirst, it's not for hydration, it's not for nutrition. It is my cigarette. It is my mind cleansing moment. And it is intentionally there because it causes me no tangible harm. Certainly a hell of a lot less harm than my Coke and M&Ms used to. And I have to have that mind cleansing moment. So question 2 and 3 is look at how often you put calories in your mouth and ask yourself why. And I can guarantee you it's always an emotional event. I'm stressed, I'm anxious, I'm depressed, I'm angry, I'm sad. Boredom is as much an emotion. I'm having fun playing a game on the computer and I'm sitting here with a bowl of pretzels or something snacking on them, or my bowl of popcorn. Correlate your eating and drinking with your emotional needs. Correlate your eating and drinking of carbohydrates with your emotional needs. Then you'll understand how big the elephant is. Oh my God, I never realized it was this bad. And then answer this question, because this is addiction treatment as opposed to diets. Diets ask you to eat the elephant in one bite. Here's your diet sheet. You're going to get rid of the carbohydrates. You're going to clean all the cupboards. And you're going to crash and burn. You're going to get the keto flu. You're going to feel like shit. You're going to feel terrible. You are not going to be able to sustain this because eating the elephant in one bite is too difficult. Nobody can do it. No matter how authoritarian you are, it is unsustainable. The way you eat an elephant is to cut it up in little pieces and deal with removal and replacement in little bits, slowly, sequentially over time. It may take you a month to get rid of all the carbohydrates, and that's okay, because this is a lifetime that we're changing. And you want this to last till about 10 minutes after you die, not just till you've lost 20 or 30 pounds. Not till the next emotional event in your life. Addiction management is about removal of negative behaviors and replacement of their positive component with positive behaviors that don't have a negative side to them. Behavioral modification, behavioral change takes time. It's not something you can do in 1 or 2 days or a week or instantly like Nutrisystem promises you. This is a slow, steady process of change, of self-empowerment. Addiction management is about behavioral change, about breaking old bad habits and creating new good ones, and about self-empowerment. It's about self-esteem restoration, self-confidence restoration, and self-empowerment. And that is the long wave to success. No empowerment, no self-esteem, no self-confidence, a sense of deprivation, a sense of have to, you're dead in the water, you're going to crash and burn. I get to do this. I've chosen to do this. I'm empowered by doing this. I'm looking forward to what I'm doing. I've surrounded myself with positive habits, and I don't have access to the negative habits. That's where success comes from. And are you going to be perfect at this? Hell no, you're not. You're going to crash and burn many times. But with greater humility and more experience, you're going to learn to do this better and better and better, and eventually there's a final time that you do this. Just like quitting smoking. That's addiction management, folks. That's the starter kit. Come and see us if you want to know more. Come and see us if you want to understand how our program works. Or if you're already doing it and you want some tweaks and you want some legs for longevity, if you've done well, but now you're stranded and you've leveled off or you're sliding backwards, give us a shout. This is not just starting. This is keeping going. This is keeping moving forward. And we can help you with every one of those. I am the Carb Addiction Doc. Watch the other videos on YouTube. Follow us on Instagram. Give us a shout, 561-517-0642. Throw some money at us on Patreon. Throw some money at us through our PayPal account, robert@jackschildren.com on PayPal, to keep these videos free if the content is of value. We depend on your donations to do what I'm doing right now. Take care and be carb free.